Hi folks, Ryan Honeyman here from Lift Economy. Many folks have come to us over the last 10 years and asked, how do I get more involved in creating an economy that works for the benefit of all life? They also ask, what skills and experiences do I need to help make this transition? So 3 years ago, we created something called the Next Economy MBA to help address this and similar questions. Lift Economy's Next Economy MBA is an online course that's designed for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, students, recent graduates, employees, and folks who want to learn more about transformational Next Economy strategies and businesses. Join the growing alumni network of nearly 250 alumni who've gone through this program and learned essential skills and hopefully built lifelong relationships for catalyzing businesses in the emergent and regenerative economy. So we encourage you to check out our course. You can go to lifteconomy.com/MBA. The next course, Cohort 7, starts on September 21st, 2021. So once again, go to www.lifteconomy.com/MBA. And now, on with the show. Welcome to Next Economy Now. The goal of this podcast series is to highlight the leaders who are taking a regenerative, bioregional, equitable, democratic, racially just, and whole systems approach to creating the new economy.
Welcome to the show, Kate.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have this opportunity to speak with you.
So Kate and I met a couple months ago at a conference in New Haven, and I was immediately curious to learn more. So Kate, I appreciate you joining us, and I'd love to hear more about you and how you got into this line of work.
Sure. It really all started for me, well, I can trace it back to two different things. One is a family that really got me outdoors a lot as a kid, camping trips and fishing trips with my dad and brothers and my mom, and so had that sort of implicit affection for the outdoors growing up. And then when I was 18, and this is the next place where it all traces back to, I had the opportunity to go on an extended backpacking trip. And I was out in Wyoming in the big mountains and really sort of felt the power and fragility at the same time of the natural world. And really from then on, my career has been focused on the outdoors, either as an outdoor educator or, as I am now, in more of a advocacy and conservation role. And that's led me to this place.
Can you share more for those who don't know about what 1% does?
Sure. So 1% for the Planet is a global network, and we have member companies who are, as Sean said at the beginning, committed to donating 1% of their annual sales to environmental nonprofits. And so we also have a network of nonprofits all over the world, and we have together this really amazing dual network that works together to solve really pressing issues in the areas of climate, in the areas of water, food systems, species, you name it. If it's an environmental issue, some one of our member companies and nonprofits is working on it. We have about 1,100 member companies at this point in about 40 different countries, and we have thousands of nonprofits that they're working with.
Give us a sense, what kind of scale are you dealing with right now for donations on an annual basis?
Yeah, we have, at this point, we were founded in 2002, and as of now, our annual donation amount is about 20 million plus over the life of our organization thus far. So from 2002 to 2016 or through 2015, we've given about 150 million, which is a big number, and it's also not a big enough number. So part of what we're really focused on is the fact that of the total philanthropy, and this is a U.S. Data point, but I think it translates pretty well. But in the U.S., of total philanthropy, only 3% of that is going to the environment. And of that 3%, only 3% of that is coming from businesses. So there's a real opportunity to grow the amount of giving going to the environment, and there's a real opportunity for businesses to drive a lot of that.
I'm curious, how do you decide where that money goes? Like, what are you looking for in nonprofits, or do your members?
Yeah,
How does it work?
that's a great question. And, it's one of the things I really like about our model is that we have expertise, but we also create opportunities for our businesses to customize their giving. So we have a program called Strategic Impact Advising, and we partner up with our companies through that program to help them identify how to make the most brand-aligned, impactful gifts that they can make. Gifts, I shouldn't say gifts really, it's actually more investments, and that's really how we think about it. So philanthropy used to be thought of as this sidebar, but the way we're framing it up with our companies is that they're really investing in the solutions that they want to see as part of the economy and ecosystem that they are operating in. So we work with our companies to sort of select those investments in nonprofits that are of greatest value to them, and that they see as delivering the kind of impact that they want to see in the world. So it's a very customized approach, which in the end I think results in better, more thoughtful, and more lasting impact.
Wow, wonderful. So you work with each of your 1,100 member businesses on a customized giving program just for them?
Yeah, and any of our member companies who are listening now know that we aren't able to provide in-depth, customized advising for all of our companies every year, but we do end up we certify the giving that our companies do every year, so that's always a touch point, and we increasingly try to have even more touch points. And so we're really developing this strategic impact advising program and expanding it. So companies have received various levels of depth of advising, but we're always available to, and we really we feel it's the most important work that we do to make sure that giving is meaningful for the companies, is meaningful for the earth, is aligned with the nonprofits who are doing the work. So really putting the pieces together matters a lot to us.
I'm curious, out of all that, do you see any particular themes? Like, most companies want to fund water, or forest or tree planting, or does it kind of span everything, or do you have certain things that jump out where people want to invest in more than others?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. We sort of see it framed in some different ways. So there's like the issue framework of climate, water, land, food, the issue areas. And then there's also geography. I would say, many of our companies want to, make their solutions investing or their giving occur in places where they either have stores, where their headquarters are located, or where, their brand is sort of coming to life. So geography is definitely a common thread, even though it obviously looks different depending on where the company is. In terms of the issues, I think there are like moments when different issues rise to the top. So last December, when climate was on top of mind for a lot of people in the context of the COP21 climate negotiations in Paris, we did a pledge actually, and we had about 35 companies pledge to make a portion of their donation go to climate. And at other times, there will be sort of engagement or sort of heightened awareness globally that sometimes drives particular interest. Beyond that, though, I think one of the beauties of our model and, is that we really sort of match the ecosystem in terms of diversity, and people are really giving based on sort of where they think they can have the greatest impact. And as I said before, where it sort of fits best with their the partnerships they're creating fit best with their brand and company profile.
That makes sense to get a diverse array of investments, of course, because we need a diverse array of solutions at this time. Do you have anything that stands out as a particular successful event for you or your organization, or any of the particular giving programs, or in your...
Yeah, I do. A couple different things. One is, as I just was saying, the diversity of our giving, we value that because that does sort of match the, reality of the ecosystem. We also, want to make sure that we're targeting giving in the most impactful ways, because there are real urgent problems that need attention now, and we don't want to be shy about saying that. So One of the programs that we created this past year that's been doing really well is a fund called the Quick Response Biodiversity Fund. And we created it with a couple of partners, the Whedon Foundation and Eric Dinerstein from Resolve. And what we've been able to do with that fund is pull in giving from member companies and then receive applications to allocate funds to urgently needed, quick, as the name indicates, quickly needed issues related to biodiversity protection. So over the course of 1 year, we were able to give, I think it was just north of $100,000. And in doing that, we implemented 7 different projects that protected critical species habitat all over the world and on every continent. So it was able to be very responsive, very focused. We had some of the best advisors pulled together from, the area of biodiversity protection. And so we were really proud of that because it was a way to take our, model, which values the, particular interests of each company, but provide some expertise that sort of funneled that giving towards, threatened habitats that once they're gone, they're gone. And once species are extinct, they're extinct. So, definitely a really great way to engage companies in responding to, urgency. So we're really proud of that and looking to, figure out how we can sort of bring that model to bear in other ways. I think the other thing that I'm proud of is we've been through a lot of change of late, just transitioning to new leadership and, some new, a new landscape. And we have a great strategic direction that, we really are seeing engage our companies more and create new ways to really build a movement around the ways that our companies can come together with their nonprofits and tell their partnership stories and really celebrate the impact that's happening as a result of the work. We've talked a lot about the dollars thus far, and certainly those dollars drive impact, but what happens on the ground, the work that our nonprofit partners do is pretty amazing, and being able to tell more of those stories is a big part of our new strategic direction. So I'm really proud of the work we're putting into that and really looking forward to all that's going to come as a result.
Yeah, I'm curious the typical engagement between the giving companies and the nonprofits. Do they know each other? Do they know that the money came from them? Do they do like lunch and learns or connect with the staff? Like how much of a connection is that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. We moving forward and in 3 years, I would be happy to say every single company is has a really close and knowledgeable relationship with their nonprofit partners, and the nonprofit partners could say the same. And we do have a lot of those kinds of partnerships right now. We don't necessarily have them across the board, which doesn't mean the dollars aren't going to good places doing good work. But we definitely, see the greatest value when there's really strong partnerships. So for example, we have a nonprofit partner, the Rosalia Project, that works on ocean cleanup work. And they have a member company, True Sweets. And they are the best of partners and a really great example of, not only is there a financial partnership there, but one of the chief marketing officer of True Sweets went on a week-long sailing trip with the Rosalia Project to help with the cleanup, and they've been able to incorporate that into some of their brand and storytelling, and it just added a lot of value, and they've been able to provide great advice and direction for Rosalia Project in addition to the funding. And so there are great examples of how partners are either very close in that way or sometimes shaping projects together. So there's a ton of opportunities, and I think we really see the great value kind of thinking of next economy now and this opportunity that we have to sort of shape our new future today, and the way that that's happening. Our companies are sent, again, not just this sidebar of philanthropy, but a way to really do business differently in a way that incorporates the nonprofit or third sector, as it's sometimes called, to be as an investment in the solutions that will stabilize and keep thriving the ecosystem that is the basis for any economy.
I'm curious, because you have the perspective on the for-profits and also the nonprofits. What do you see that the for-profits have? Do they have a particular solution sets that are applicable for the nonprofits? For example, organizational effectiveness or efficiency, or what do you see as some of the things that they would have to offer to each other? Because in the one sense, it's pretty clear reciprocity. The for-profit organizations get the benefit of supporting the great work of the nonprofits. So it's almost, in a traditional business 101, you could just check the marketing box there. Okay, we've supported something good in marketing, and so we got our marketing dollar for that. But what do you think that the for-profits might have to offer the nonprofits in terms of not just a financial exchange?
Yeah, I think it varies quite a bit. There always is, both sides always have something to give beyond just that financial side. I think, in some cases it is, kind of financial knowledge or organizational knowledge. But I think, it varies. In some cases, our nonprofits are more established than some of the companies who are newer and starting up. And so it's, some of that organizational knowledge flows the other way. So I think, really what both have is the opportunity to, come into a partnership and recognize what they can both give to each other. Many times the companies will sometimes have a more a broader perspective because they may be opening markets in different areas of the country or globally. But sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes the nonprofits are working on global issues, and they are able to sort of bring those down into a more local market where a company may be operating. So it's hard to say. I think it really is about information flow both ways, and bringing the best of the different models, the for-profit and the not-for-profit models together.
On that note, what do you think about a social enterprise model where it is a for-profit, but they're explicitly for a social or environmental benefit? So you could see them with a nonprofit ethos, but they're actually in a for-profit structure.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And I would, I think many of our member companies would define themselves as social enterprises. And, we definitely see them as, playing an important role in the economy at large, and certainly in our model as well. We do continue to believe that there's a unique role that nonprofits can play in terms of their mission, total mission focus. Their legal obligation is to fulfill their mission. They don't have the profit obligation. And so, which doesn't mean that they're not well run or from a fiscal standpoint, but they do have that mission obligation and are able to operate and deliver impact in areas where there may not be a market to support that impact. So it is a very critical role that nonprofits play, but it's awesome to see social enterprises filling the often gray space between that very clear nonprofit realm where the mission drives and where there isn't that marketplace, and the more clear business realm. There's a very powerful role for social enterprises, and we look forward to, continuing to sort of engage them in our model, and also figure out how we need to, continue to evolve to, work with that, kind of partner.
Is that something you would consider supporting? Would be a for-profit social enterprise that's, for example, implementing a solution like one I can think of is a social enterprise in Haiti that's creating, kind of a micro enterprise opportunity for local women to go around selling clean water purification systems at a low cost to their local community, as an example.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, our model is focused on supporting nonprofits who don't have access to, venture capital or some of the other sources of capital that a for-profit, even a social enterprise would have access to. So, we do feel like we have an important commitment there. And, there's no question that we're not willing to ask ourselves about how to, meet our goal, which is to increase funding for critical environmental solutions. We are at this point, remain committed to the nonprofit community as we have been, but we definitely have the question of how do social enterprises fit on our board.
What are you most excited about right now? What's kind of present or current for you?
There's so many things to be excited about, which is a great thing. So one is just we have such amazing members. So on a daily basis, learning either about new members or current members, longtime members who are just doing amazing things and choosing to make this commitment to invest in environmental nonprofits and accomplishing great things as a result. So I'm just I'm excited about that in a kind of like steady state sort of a way, just because it's so it's really heartening to know that that's happening and that it's a choice that these companies are making. I'm also really excited about the work that we're doing to get better ourselves at how we're building those partnerships. I mentioned that strategic impact advising, and I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to continue to work with companies and nonprofits and just help to forge these, partnerships to be even stronger and, create more impact. So where there's an appetite for our help with that, we're really excited to do that. And then I think, the other thing that I'm really excited about is just we have a great team and we're really ready to grow and to, there's urgency, there's the real need. I mean, my excitement is definitely the flip side of a coin that has some anxiety sometimes about the real environmental challenges that we face. So I'm excited to every day do what we can to get more investment and create more impact.
How do you handle that balance between being aware of what's actually happening on the ground around the world and staying committed to the solutions?
Yeah, I think I have to, feel some of the anxiety or fear sometimes in order to, stay real. And, I'm a big believer in doing what you can every day. And, so sort of really maintaining faith in the, the steps and the work and the commitment of our companies that I mentioned earlier and the hard work of our nonprofits. So, the fact that I'm able to be in a place where I, see stuff happening every day makes a real difference. A favorite book of mine is by Annie Lamott called Bird by Bird. And it's actually about the writing process, but it definitely applies to life. But basically, the idea of bird by bird came from when her brother was working on a book report and he was way behind, and his wise father said, the only way you can do this book report, which was about birds, is bird by bird. So you can only just do what you can do, every day. And so I just try and make sure that I and 1% for the planet are just, doing what we can each day, and then you begin to see results. So that helps me to maintain hope, even as I, make sure I keep a finger on the pulse of, I think legitimate anxiety about the real problems that are there.
What do you see in the next 10, 20, 30 years? Do you see us really drawing down carbon and changing things in a good way, or?
I do. I think, and I feel like, thinking about it at an economic level, is critical, because I do think that the business community has such a critical role. The business community can be, a huge part of the solution. And so many of the companies that we work with and that are out there, the social enterprises that you mentioned, who are, building successful companies based on solutions, not based on creating more problems. And, the B Lab, B Corp movement, there's so many ways in which the business community can, not just kind of mitigate their past mistakes, but really create new regenerative solutions. So I really, find great hope in that. Looking ahead, I see that as the solution and the way that we're going to, find our way forward in concert with the nonprofits, who will often be the critical partners who can do the work where the companies cannot go. And that, relationship will be part of a new way of doing business. So yes, I'm going to remain really hopeful that we're going to make the changes. We're not going to get everything right, but I think we'll get a lot of things right, and that will begin to build on itself.
So Who are you watching or reading, or you mentioned a book, or who are you looking up to? Who's inspiring you at the moment?
Yeah, such a good question. Um, I tend to be inspired more by everyday people than big names, and really our company network. A lot of our companies are the grassroots. A lot of our nonprofits are the grassroots, or are tapped into the grassroots. And I do feel like that's where a lot of change is going to come from, because it's what needs to happen is the status quo needs to change, and the status quo is not going to be the place that change is driven from. So I do take a lot of inspiration from that, and really believe in the power of everyday people. Some of the reading that I've been doing, one author, who I've been reading recently, who's fabulous, who I highly recommend, is Naomi Klein. Her most recent book is This Changes Everything, about climate change, and she's just a really terrific writer. And
also a movie, right? They made that movie out of that.
I don't know if there's a movie. I should certainly find out. That's good. It's a great book. Definitely worth a read. Another book that I read recently is called The Big Pivot. And I'm unfortunately drawing a blank on the author's name right now, but it's a really great book as well, just about how the world is going to get hotter and scarcer, essentially, and it's going to kind of command that we pivot and change the way that we work. So it's a really valuable book for me to read, because I really do see business and the kinds of partnerships business and nonprofits are forging as part of that pivot. So those are two biggies for me. And then there's always my garden, which is, planting my garden, planting those seeds, seeing them come up every year. That's definitely a source of inspiration as well.
And just to play devil's advocate, how does that help? How's that part of the solution?
I just planted my garden yesterday, so it's sort of on my mind. And every single year, and this may, make me, may not reflect well on me, but I'm always just full of wonder and amazement that seeds grow. And, so I just planted sunflower seeds, and last year I had like these massive 9-foot sunflowers from these tiny little seeds, and just the fact that planet Earth has figured out how to do that. To me, there's a lot of hope in that.
Yeah, that's pretty good technology, huh?
Yeah, that is. And the planting of seeds is an overused metaphor, but when you plant your own garden, you feel like, well, we probably can't use it quite too much, because it really is. If all of us could replicate that, even to a small measure, we really can change things, and we can, create from very little something that's huge and amazing and beautiful and complex.
Right. So by partnering with existing natural systems like plant cycles and seasonal cycles, you can put a little seed in the ground, and then you can harvest your own vegetables, produce, herbs, whatever it is. You don't have to drive to the store.
Right. Or, thinking about our network, we have 1,100 member companies, thousands of nonprofits. So every year there are, several thousand partnerships that are fostered. So a member company may give to more than one nonprofit. So several thousand of those, relatively small partnerships in the grand scheme of things happening all over the world. Those are seeds. That's stuff getting planted. And as those, as more of those are planted, as more of those are stewarded, as we get better at figuring out sort of how to, support them, I think that, there's just so much that can be generated from that we can't even right now necessarily see.
So you mentioned having a great team and being ready to grow. So what's next? What does growth look like for 1%? Yeah,
so we're looking to grow globally. We've been doing some work in Europe this year with our partners. We have some great new members there, like Pucka Herb. So we're really looking to engage our members in our growth. They are the true ambassadors and storytellers about how this works. So, definitely a lot of, member engagement around that, and also nonprofits. A lot of the work of growing is the nitty-gritty internal stuff. So just making sure we're really solid on that front, and operating in the with all of the best practices in terms of the service that we provide to our, every member of our network, nonprofit and member company. And just getting out there, telling the stories of what's happening, and just building that awareness and building that engagement. So a lot of block and tackle, but also a lot of just doing a increasingly strong job of getting the word out about who we are, how we engage doers, how we create dollars and make stuff happen.
So you mentioned you're in 40 countries?
Yeah, just over 40. Yep.
And is it mostly U.S. based?
Most of our network is in the U.S. And Canada, and then we have a strong presence in Western Europe. Australia is also strong, and Japan is strong. And then I would say, the rest of the seeds are kind of scattered more widely, just across. We just got a recent member in Dubai. Yeah, but we really look to our approach as we think about growth is to really build on existing kind of hubs. So where there's a small little bit of critical mass, we try and sort of build on that and help bring more members around and more nonprofits around that. Because from what we've heard from our members, and this makes perfect sense to me, that one of the benefits of being part of the network is those peer relationships with other companies who are thinking in this way, so that there really can be that sense, not just of being an individual company making a great commitment, but being part of a new economy in a lot of ways. So we really try and build around that. So, our growth moving forward, we will definitely try to, build on those existing growth areas, and then, just continue to, create more opportunities for that elsewhere.
So would that mean getting the member companies together to connect them, get them
Yeah,
to
we
each other?
do. We do a lot of networking events. Last year we had probably 25. This year we've got probably 40 planned, and we try to go to most of those. Sometimes our members will host them on their own, but anything we can do to help members and nonprofits get together, introduce new people to the stories. Usually we'll have a member and a nonprofit partner sort of featured so they can tell their partnership story, and we try and kind of get out of the way because that they're the main event. And so yeah, we try to do a lot of that. Mostly, or I shouldn't say mostly, most of the time we're getting together in sort of standalone networking events. Sometimes we'll buddy up with an existing event and sort of have a sidebar, but we have been to, Madison, Wisconsin, Paris, Toronto, Austin, Texas, you name it. We're, wherever we can sort of bring people together and wherever there's interest in that, we'd love to do that.
What would be a challenge that you're facing right now, and maybe, a request for support, or is there any support, our listeners could potentially provide?
Well, let's see. One of the things we're really, focused on right now, as I mentioned, is, making sure that the service that we provide is really best in class. And we're actually a small nonprofit managing a big global network. The more we can sort of have high touch, high intensity in the best sense of the word, relationships with our, member companies and nonprofits, that's always better. If I could spend every day talking to different members and nonprofits, that would be really valuable. I can't do that. So I think we're investing in some tools right now to enhance our website, enhance the ways that our online platforms can support connectivity. So that's a challenge / opportunity. And we always appreciate it when people are patient with us. That's one thing that listeners can give. But certainly if there are any people who are interested in helping a nonprofit like ours to scale, we have a lot of ideas, and we're paying as we go and doing a great job of that. But we welcome anyone who's interested in sort of learning more and potentially partnering with us to get us to the next level.
And what would the next level look like for you? You're saying going global? Is that the idea?
Yeah, and we are global already, but I think being able to have a little more presence in some different areas, so to increase our staff capacity so that we can provide more regional account support to just have that high touch that we value greatly, and able to really implement that strategic impact advising. So, I think that's one aspect of the next level. I think having, all of our, web and database tools, really top notch. They're very solid right now, but they can, be at a next level in terms of sort of the interface with users. So we're, investing in that. But I think the next level, all of those, that like nitty gritty stuff aside, the next level is, a global movement in the sense that right now we have global representation, and we're really looking for that level of sort of awareness and engagement globally that really, tips us from being, like that's great to like, wow, they're really making the change. And I think we're right on that edge, and we're really, psyched to tip right over and get there. And it's pretty exciting, and it's going to be, we know that it's something that we won't do alone. We're a network. It's, it's us doing it with our companies and nonprofits. So, anything that we can do to kind of get to that, be able to sort of get to that tipping point, we're really psyched to do the work and get there.
If we look all the way past, I don't know what it would be, 50 years or 100 years, I mean, do you see a point where you become obsolete? Or do you see, what's the what does it look like if your mission is fulfilled,
Yeah, and I know that's sort of the question for nonprofits. I think for us, there's a way in which the role that we play to, that is sort of a connective tissue role between the for-profit and nonprofit worlds around environmental issues. So, if that connective tissue gets to the place where all, we'd love to see it being sort of standard business practice for companies to identify a percentage investment in nonprofits to solve the problems that, are most germane to that particular business or industry. We'd love for that to just become like what you do. You pay your taxes, you invest in nonprofits doing environmental work. So we'd like to continue to play that role, in what way we would be set up maybe is the question, but I think, having that connective tissue continue to exist, I think, I would see that as a great result, and, would look forward to, being able to sort of see what that ends up looking like.
Well, anything else you'd like to share with us today?
I don't think so. Those are some great questions. It's been great to talk.
Yeah, thanks. How about a way to contact you or your organization, website, email address, anything you'd like to?
Yeah, sure. So our website is www.1percentfortheplanet.org.
Next Economy Now is a production of Lift Economy. To listen to all of our episodes, go to lifteconomy.com/podcast. That's LIFT economy.com/podcast. You can also sign up for our monthly newsletter at lifteconomy.com/newsletter. Please also rate and review our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.